Hi, I'm David Turner. I own Turner Suspension Bicycles. We're here in Las Vegas for the Interbike Trade Show. This is September 2009, and we're talking about 2010 product. Well, I don't know about this one actually. This is a RFX prototype that there's been quite a few people that are clamoring to get on this bike in any stage of prototyping. This happens to be the very first prototype. It was finished on Tuesday evening, or would that be Wednesday morning at 12:30 a.m. It was hand carried by one of the guys from SAPA up in Portland, Oregon, where it was built, and feverishly put together. This bike here, as we can see from the spec sheet, is got a little bit more travel than the predecessor. Their previous RFX had 160 millimeters of travel, but due to the adopting the DW link, we're going to be able to easily get 10 more millimeters of travel and have a better pedaling frame in the all-mountain category. This bike has a lot of new technology, got a lot of new ideas for Turner bikes. Starting at the back end, this rear dropout system. The dropout here, or derailleur hanger, and it's actually the nut for the axle, is a slimmed down version of the same system we've been using since the 2006 Highline, and the DHR has also used it for years, and for this bike it's been working very well. It's extremely tough. If there's any problem, like a catastrophic failure, a terrible rock, or a mechanical error, the thread is in the replaceable part, so we're not talking about injuring a very expensive rear end. The dropouts now are notched in what is being called the X12 system. It was it's being promoted by the company in Germany called Synthase, and I think it's a big step in eliminating quick releases from cross-country and trail bikes. So I'm going to use it on the prototype RFX and see how it works. Basically, it's got a notch just like the Fox 36 and other all-mountain style forks have used for years, and even downhill forks, where there's a place to set the front hub, well in this case the rear hub, so that it's convenient to then install the rear axle instead of trying to juggle the frame, the wheel, and then install the axle while you're trying to chase things around. So that's new for us. What we are carrying over here is the post-mount brake system. Here we can see how it looks without the threaded inserts. It's the same thing we've been using for a year with perfect success on the Flux, the 5-spot, and the Sultan. Moving forward, the RFX will be the first bike I've ever produced that requires a bolt-on front derailleur. Many years ago we had bikes that could use the bolt-on front derailleur as an option. This bike will be required to use either the Shimano E-plate style or the new SRAM, I believe they're calling it S3, which will bolt right here. This allows us to have a lot less metal in this yoke between the rear DW link and the rear axle. Because the front derailleur will now move with the rear end, the drop in this yoke will be over 2 inches straighter. So straighter is lighter, straighter is stiffer, less material waste, etc., etc. It's all a good thing. The ISCG 05 tabs. Obviously, this type of bike will more than likely have a chain guide on it, 2 rings in most cases, and in the some people will want to run the Hammerschmidt from SRAM. That will bolt right onto the ISCG 05 tabs. The pivot system is still a journal bearing or a bushing system that we're very familiar with using in the past. It's very light. They hold up extremely well over a long period of time, much longer than steel bearings that can rust. But a very different system than we've ever used in the past. Much larger. There will still be grease fittings on all the pivots so that you can purge out water and grit, contamination. The The diameter of the pivots and the width of the pivots, though, is tailored to the loads that this bike is capable of taking. The other thing that is new for myself as a designer and Turner Bikes is the eccentric pivot here. We've put the fastener off center from the shaft, so that basically when everything is tightened together, the left and right rocker plate will not be able to move independently. It's not a new idea. It's been used in industrial applications for some time, and it does help stabilize the rear end by locking the right and left side together without welding, and that will also reduce some of the stress on the shock. I tried very hard, and Dave Weigel was very helpful in this, in getting a medium-sized frame without a bent tube. So this prototype, we're able to get the standover heights that we're after, which of course today is lower than ever, and making bikes more comfortable to dismount in a sketchy situation. Moving forward, this will be the first bike we've ever done with a tapered head tube. The thinking on using a tapered head tube, of course, is that all the greatest loads are on the lower headset race, with the larger bearing on the bottom and the smaller bearing on the top. We've matched basically the bearing sizes to the loads. We can also change the geometry of the front end by changing the lower headset cup. If you use an external headset cup on this size head tube, they're 15 millimeters tall. So you can go to a zero stack headset on the lower race and steepen the head angle a little bit by removing that 15 millimeters of stack height. This has been met with some mixed emotions, only because the top race doesn't look beefy enough for a bike of this caliber. When one looks at the mass of the rockers and the mass of the lower links, and then the historically cross-country sized 1.1 headset on the top of the head tube, it just looks a little bit undersized. That's what we're hearing here at Interbike. Then going to the front of the bike, this will be the first bike that we've ever done with a off-center shock location. We've done that to gain more clearance because of the drivetrain on the right side of the bike. The shock has been displaced off to the left side of the bike slightly to make some room, so we can keep the structure strong enough, stiff enough, but we are thinking outside the box here. So a lot of new thinking going into this this particular prototype. And let me answer this question right now. No, I don't know when it will be ready. As the DHR, which we'll go to shortly, will attest, this bike here is at the beginning of a prototyping process, and I'm not sure how long it takes because we don't know how well it'll hold up to the both mechanical and real world field testing that it will be subjected to. So please be patient. There's certainly a lot of other bikes out there, lesser brands. You can continue to ride in anticipation of the RFX with the DW link.